Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday morning live. I think it's Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday morning live with myself, Steve Costello, and my colleague over there in London, England, Patience Morevi. Hello, Patience.
Hi.
So I'm going to do most of the talking today, possibly, because Patience has had some health challenge. She's not been too well. I think I told everybody that last week. And she's got a cough. So maybe necessary that I talk too much. Maybe I talk too much anyway. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, what are we going to talk about? Well, one of the things that's been coming up lately in my own practice is this idea that as parents, it can sometimes be a very lonely journey. But that sounds a bit crazy when you think about the fact that often parents will have a partner. They may not all have a partner, but often they'll have a partner. If they don't have a partner, they may have a kind of support network, a brother, a sister, a friend, somebody in the community. There might be somebody around they can kind of lean on a little bit if the going gets tough. But frequently, parents are telling me that they feel lonely, that the journey of being a parent can be sometimes it can be quite a lonely one. Sometimes we don't have somebody we can share our deepest thoughts or our deepest, sometimes we feel darkest thoughts about the journey of a parent. We can't share our insecurities or our securities, how we
Mhm.
feel positive sometimes. So sometimes it can be a very lonely journey. And that makes life difficult. That can have a knock-on effect. If we're feeling lonely and a little bit left out, sometimes that's transferred to our own children or our adolescents. And they notice, particularly adolescents, they're not stupid. They notice that the parent's not in a happy place. And they may start to ask questions. The parent may not know how to answer those questions. So what can we do about all of this stuff? Do we need to do anything about it? So what do you think, Patience?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. What do we do about it? Because this is what I believe when you feel alone as a parent, you should be asking yourself, what can I do about it? And the reason why I'm saying that is as Steve and I were talking before we came on live, is that there is a sense of I'm feeling this or I'm going through this, but I don't know how to voice it to the outside world in order for me to get what I need, maybe. So support or help or just a listening here. And I think sometimes this is where being alone is can be being alone can have like two side of the coin. So one side where you feel like I must be going through this alone, and when I feel better, then I can just be out in the world. Or there's the other side where like you know what? I need the help, and how am I going to get that help now? And how am I going to voice it now to the other world? So I think this is today's episode is about what do we do? How do we voice this feeling lonely? And also how do we make it a norm? It's not a bad thing to say, I feel lonely. There's nothing wrong with saying that. You know what? I feel lonely. I would like to be able to talk about this or be able to do this or be able to do that with someone. And one thing that I've noticed, so with Steve is sharing about some of his clients. But what I've noticed even myself is that going through motherhood, or even I believe, I'm sure Steve felt it as well in his fatherhood, is that you go through phases where you are together, you are with your partner, but whatever stage as a parent you are at, you feel like you're lonely in that stage. So, for example, as Steve was talking about the fact that his wife is a midwife, And obviously she knows about children and she knows how to deal with it. And when they had children, Steve was like, "Oh, I'm a bit I'm a bit lost here. I don't know what to do." And I remember my husband being like, I'm like, "You need to give him a bath now," and to our son. And he was like, "No, no, 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 no. I'm gonna mess it up." So he didn't want to do it because he thought, "Oh, he's gonna mess it up." But I was like, "But you've got to do it." And I remember the first time he took our son in his hands. So our son was really small. He was like basically you could hold him in his hand. Like he was really small when he was born. And he was putting the water, he was trying to bath him. And I could see already that we were really far apart, yet we were going through the same stage. So we had the newborn baby, but I was so far away, like, "Yeah, it's okay, you can do it." And he was so like, "No, I can't do it." And I know that even though he didn't voice it, for him, he felt alone in that journey.
Mm.
Um, and so sometimes even being together doesn't mean that you don't feel alone. So who do you talk to? Who could my husband had talked to at that time to kind of release his anxiousness, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's who can we talk to is a really big question, you know. I remember in the early days, so my kids are pre-adolescent and taking them to school. So we're talking about infant school, junior school. And I knew a lot of the parents, some because they lived close by. We lived in quite a big village. So I knew a lot of parents to say hi to, good morning to, wow, look at the weather, all kinds of stuff. What we were going to have for dinner, anybody, we used to, that was something we used to do with a little group of parents. What we're having for dinner today, I don't know what to make today. Well, I'm going to make this, I'm going to make this. And you get ideas because of that. But it didn't go deeper. So if you were feeling lonely, you weren't going to feel less lonely because you'd had that nice interaction. Yes, that nice interaction helped. It did make you feel good. But sometimes we need to manage our overwhelm as well. It's quite overwhelming having kids. Let's be honest. Some parents are amazing. They're what I call naturals. It's almost like they've been plugged in and they've got the training. You know, they don't have to go through the process. That's how it seems, at least. But when we're overwhelmed, we start to feel things like lack of confidence.
Mm.
We start to feel things like anxiety. Am I doing this right? Why is my kid getting into trouble at school all the time? A parent asked me that recently. Why is my son always in trouble? I really do my best with him. And I'm not overly strict. And I don't, you know, I don't sit him on the stairs every time he does something wrong. We talk about stuff. But yeah, he goes to school and he gets in trouble every time, every day almost. You know, so that is difficult to manage. It's overwhelming because you think you're doing the right thing, but something's not quite working out. So what we need, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, is a sense of community. We need to build a community. Build a community where people can share what they're going through and they feel comfortable sharing it, not being judged, not necessarily a community that's going to say, this is what you need to be doing. And if you're not going to take my advice, I'm not going to keep giving it. We don't need a community like that. We need a community that can hear what people are going through,
Mm.
share their perspectives, sure, but not expect their perspectives to be taken on board all the time because it doesn't always work. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different style. Everybody has a different set of values. Not entirely different, but slightly different. We all vary slightly in our values. So there's a lot of things we've got to think about. Now, something Patience and I can do through Wide for Success, we can form those groups. So we can have groups of, for example, parents of adolescents who want to sit and talk. Patience and I are amazing facilitators. We have a lot of experience. That sounds a little bit big-headed, doesn't it? We're amazing facilitators. It's
Not
true.
at all.
So what can you do? This is the question. What
Yeah.
support do you need? And what can you do, or what do you do to get that support? Now, as Patience mentioned, I was talking about some of the work with some of my clients earlier. And in many cases, they have busy jobs. They have lots of people around them at work. They have lots of people around them at home in the family. They have some friends. They have people in the school playgrounds, but yet they still feel lonely. And that sounds crazy, right? So just consider for a minute, how do you feel?
Yeah, and I think another thing that we were talking about before, where I mentioned, is that when you are a child, you're learning to do everything. So we're thinking of you yourself as a parent now. Think back to when you were a child. Think back to when you needed to do things, when you were going through different seasons. For most of people, you would have had an adult or a parent taking your hand and saying, okay, this is where you can be, or, holding your hand to guide you to do something. And what often we miss or what we tend to forget is that as we grow, as we become the adult, we also need our hands to be held. So when we talk about building a community, you can build a community of your own that it doesn't need to be just that one community where people go to that one community. A community could be you coming to Wired for success, for support. It could be you having your friends that you can meet for coffee once or twice. It could be a colleague with whom you kind of get on a lot and you can speak to. It could be your mother, it could be your brother, your sister. So all of these people are also building your community. And then when you need that support, when you need your hands to be held, you can be, you know what, this person might be the best person in that case. So, for example, you want to cook gratin dauphinois. You're not going to come to us at Wired for Success although you could come to me, I will tell you how to do it, but you will find someone maybe in your family or who had the recipe and you go like, oh, I want to do this. This is also held in hand. So what we're talking about is on the wider scape where you feel lonely. How can you build this community?
Yeah, that's brilliant. And one of the words that was popping out at me whilst you were talking just now, Patience, is the word accountability. So we're sitting in a group and I'm hearing parents sharing their ideas about how they manage their time and so on with their adolescents. I pick up on one of the ideas that resonates with me. And then I say to the group, yeah, I like this idea. This is going to work for me, I think. I'm going to try this. So by saying that in public, the next time we meet, somebody's going to remember,
Mhm.
how did you get on? Did you do that? Well, actually, I didn't. I forgot. And that's going to motivate me not to do that. It's going to motivate me to think, hang on a minute, I said I was going to do that. I should be doing it. But we all know that when you leave a group, life takes
Mm.
charge again.
And then, yeah.
So it's not about beating yourself up, but it's a great place. Groups are great places for accountability, and that's worth considering. So there's another thing as well about the inner child. Carl Jung talked about the inner child an awful lot. You can read about it. We're not going to go into detail on that here and now. And one of the things he talked about as an adult is rediscovering your inner child because we forget that we have this inner child. We've all
Mm.
got it, but we kind of forget about it. Well, I'm a parent, I'm busy, I've got an important job, I've got a blah, 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 blah. So the inner child gets pushed down, pushed down, pushed down. Sometimes that inner child can be incredibly creative. So if we can allow the inner child to come to the surface and just play around every now and again, it's amazing what creative ideas we may come up with in relation to looking after our children. we may come up with things that we hadn't thought of before, which kind of leads into the past and our family and our upbringing. I'm the eldest of five children, and all of my siblings have at least two of their own children.
Mhm.
One has more than two. Two of us have more than two, but yeah. So we've all kind of observed what our parents did, and we've observed what our aunts and uncles and friends of the family did. So we've got all of this kind of stuff in our head about the right way and the wrong way, and all these opinions have formed because of what we've seen. And I know what worked for me out of all that stuff that I saw, and I know what wouldn't work for me. So that in a sense is a kind of an informal community. It's a community that I'm kind of viewing, looking in on, and grabbing the best bits. It's okay to do that, because if they resonate with me, there's a good chance that they're going to work. It's the stuff that doesn't resonate that often flops.
Mhm.
It's got to fit. It's no good putting on a pair of size 8 shoes if you're a size 9. It's that kind of thing, you know. But so patience. Do you have anything else to take us out with?
I like the example of the size shoe. Um, I believe we've seen a lot about obviously, feeling alone. What we are ultimately saying is ask for help, voice your concern. Obviously voice it with people that you know that you're aligned with, or you know that they're going to be able to help you or support you in a certain way. But I think we need to ask, and often one thing that we do, and it's happened lately personally to me, is that we kind of like um, we will say, "Oh no, I don't need this. I've already done it last time, and I don't need to do it again." But you never know what could come up of revisiting something else, whether it's a tool, a modality, whether it's an advice that you got, or even whether it's like another parent saying, "Oh, I'm doing this," and you're like, "Oh, I've done it and years ago and it never worked." Well, there's no in trying again because you don't know. And at the time where you tried it, you were in another season. You are now in a new season, and in this season, maybe this might be useful to you. So again, it's like what Steve was just saying. He's playing with things and trying out, he's experimenting, his experience. I mean, taking the experience of life basically and saying, you know what, I'll be open and I'll try and see if this works or
Yeah.
not.
So to finish on a light note, so the weekend, my partner and I spent some time with friends who have a 4.5-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter. And our friend, the mum, said, "Oh my goodness, what am I going to do?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "It's my daughter. She's only 2, and it's like dealing with a teenager," which was quite funny. And she was very serious. She wasn't making a joke. And I said, "So what's happening? What is it that's making you feel like this?" And she said, "Well, Philip, her son, dead easy, really zen. And he was great. And all we had to do every now and again is build the Lego and read some books. And he wasn't really demanding." She said, "Yeah, he was always busy, 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 but not really demanding." But she is a 2-year-old. She said, "I really mean it. It's like having a teen in the house. She's on a different level to the level he was on." And yeah, of course she is. She's a girl. He's a boy. They're different as they grow. There are differences. It's not just the fact that one's female and one's male. There are differences in thinking and all kinds of stuff. But she was freaking out about this. And at the end, she said, "I'm glad we talked about that because I had nobody to talk to about it." She knows loads of people, like really a lot of people. But yet she felt lonely that she had nobody to talk about her daughter to. And we knew what she was talking about because we've got daughters, you know. It's different, it's a different story. But cool. Okay, so remember, if you feel kind of a little bit left out, a little bit addressed, a little bit lonely, any of those emotions, get in touch with us. We can develop these groups, we can help you out, we can support you, we can work one-on-one if necessary. But we're here. If you have a simple question, you think it's a simple question that's too simple, it's not too simple, ask it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a complicated question, ask it anyway. Send us direct messages. Do what you've got to do to get in touch. There are ways. That's enough from me. Thanks for being here, everybody. Patience.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Take care. Bye.